Perfect day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kings and queens, and to all my gender non-conforming people. Hey guys, welcome to your greatest young show on land. Yes, I said it. This is your greatest young show on land with myself, Baby Sihu, right here on Keith Ngesi Radio. And in case you didn't know, now you should know that Keith Ngesi Radio is not your average radio station. This is radio beyond frequency, but most importantly, we are radio according to you. And we are broadcasting live in Vincent, East London, but we're not limited by the confinements of East London, nor of Eastern Cape, nor of South Africa. We are international. You can listen to us anywhere in the world by simply going to knrapp.co.za. I repeat, that is knrapp.co.za, or download our app on Google Play Store. It is the Keith Ngesi Radio app, and follow us on Facebook. We are Keith Ngesi Radio. That's where we're currently live, by the way, and on YouTube we are Keith Ngesi Radio. So do the whole shebang, man. You know, like subscribe, hit the notification thingy, you know, share, and what else? You're a YouTuber, please help me out. What else?
Yeah, I think you mentioned follow, subscribe, like, comment,
notification, the gang,
and drop
and
comments
join the
as
gang
well.
gang. Yeah, join the gang, man. And like our sister pages as well, the Keith Ngesi Digital TV, on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm not alone. We never roll alone here. On the screens, you see Busi Gwiji. That's a cool name, by the way. Like, you're so cool. You are so cool. You are literally so cool. Like, Busi Gwiji. Who thinks of that? And is not a 2000.
It's just my name.
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's literally, wow. It's your name. It's so catchy. Wow.
And I also call myself like Busi Global on social media platforms. So I was like, Busi Gwiji could be Busi Global or Busi Gwiji or... Yeah.
That is so cool. Okay, so on young purpose, I don't introduce my guests because I feel as though, obviously, you know your story better than I do. I'll say a lot and you'll look at me on some hybo baby. I was just trying to be humble, you know. Let's play the modesty game here, you know. Or I'll say little and you'll look at me on some, hey, mention my accolades. I got a numeracy award in grade 1. So what do you mean? So I'm going to quickly give you a chance to introduce yourself.
For sure. So my name is Busi Gwiji. I go by Busi G on the internet. And I am a South African currently living in Canada. I was born in a township called Oung in Gauteng. Lived there practically majority of my life. I studied at the University of Pretoria. So after matric, I had a 2-year gap before I started university, and then
I feel so affirmed. It's my second year on the gap, so
yeah. So it happens,
yeah,
you know,
affirmed.
things happen for sure. So I had a 2-year gap and then went to university at the University of Pretoria. I studied information science in the Department of Information and Technology.
I heard science and I was sold. I heard science and I was just like, yeah, woman in science.
Yeah, women in STEM. And then for my first, let's say first real job, like where it's like you're full-time working, you know, 9 to 5 full hours, I got the opportunity to work for a company that has its headquarters in the US. And I got to be based in Amsterdam in the Netherlands for a year. So I'd say that was my first experience of being outside of South Africa, experiencing a different way of living. Then fast forward a year later, I moved back to South Africa, and that was, I think, 2016. In 2019, my family and I, husband and 2 kids, we moved to Canada. And then here I am a bit over 3 years ago, 3 years after moving to Canada. And that's pretty much about me, like at a very, very high level scope. I work in IT, if it wasn't super obvious, like because I studied IT, but yeah.
I think you forgot to mention that Mama Lala, because we have a hi Mama Lala that is Unwabisa Kobile.
Hi, Navisa.
So I think you left that part.
No,
You
I
left that
did
part out.
mention my husband, my kids. I moved with my husband and kids. So Madlala is my husband's surname, but I'm using my surname. Yeah.
Okay. So you got a job name Netherlands. That's what you said. How
Yes,
does that look
yes.
like? Do you apply or do they scout you on some, hey, there's a Busi G in South Africa? Let her
So
pull
what
through.
the company that I ended up working for, they came to campus a lot, like every single year. So we'd have career fairs and then they'd come and tell us about the company and the different programs they have and the roles that you can join. And then I also went through a program, a skills and leadership development program that was called Coach Lab at the Innovation Hub in Pretoria. And Cisco, which is the company that I ended up working for, was one of the sponsors in the program. So I got introduced to people that worked at Cisco and they were able to tell us about roles that opened up. Because for some reason, I honestly, that particular year, I missed the career fair. So I didn't really see like Cisco's booth on campus. So I hear about the roles and then the mentors that we had, they had time to like sit us down and say, okay, if you're working for Cisco in this particular role, this is the type of thing you would do. And I was drawn to joining the company and I applied, went through the interview process, and that's how I ended up getting the job. And they sponsored the move, like in terms of relocation
Everything.
assistance. So that was really, really great.
So when that happens, when you get the call, like, hey, yo, you're moving away from South Africa, are there any fears or is it just excitement? Excitement.
I was excited, honestly, but I will say I think my husband was more excited than I was. Because it was like, it's just that opportunity to get to go outside of the country. So for me, it was like, okay, I don't want to leave my family. I think that was the downside. And I
The one
remember,
thing.
yeah, I remember the day I had to fly out, I was bawling my eyes out. Like, got on the plane. I think I cried until I fell
Ah.
asleep. I literally cried until I fell asleep. Like the day I had to leave, my oldest child was 2 years old at the time when I left, and I wasn't leaving with him. Like he was staying behind. I was just like, if we hadn't paid for flights and like all these things, accommodation, like I'm not sure I'd still be doing this. But let me go. We'll see how it goes, and it worked out.
Hello? I lost you for a second there. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can still hear you. Can
Hello?
you hear me?
Hello?
Oh snap! What's going on?
Hello?
Hey,
I
can you
can
still
see
hear
your
me?
pretty face, but I can't hear you. That's the thing. So I'm just like, and I can see you're speaking,
Yeah.
but I can't hear you.
And I'm not on mute, so I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, we can hear you. The problem was me. I think it was my headphones.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't see anything going on my end, so I'm not sure what to fix or.
and I'm thinking you're speaking and we're live, so yeah, there's there's probably a connection, but it's me.
Okay,
You
no
move,
worries.
okay? You move, not afraid. Eminem vibes, not afraid. We move. You go to Netherlands for a year, and then you come back. How was like the first experience of living abroad?
Yo, it was very eye-opening, I will say. Like, one of the shocks I'd say I got that I still remember to this day, the apartment that I lived in. There was no like gate between going from the street to the actual apartment, so a person really could come up to your door without having to go through any gate. In SA how we'll have like complexes and you have a gate and security at the gate
Yo,
that you have to go
I
through.
almost said stop nonsense.
Stop nonsense. Yes, every house like will have that.
Stop.
So people stop the nonsense, right? So it was that, and then the front door was like glass. Half of the door was glass, see through. There's nothing covering it. I'm like, this is insane. I don't feel safe.
What is going
Like,
on here?
like literally, I could be
What
sitting
is
on my
going?
couch and someone is just walking past and they're able to see inside. I'm like, this is just not normal. And then you get to see a lot of places and apartments, and it's like, okay, people here seem to kind of just be open like that, and it's normal. Like it's normal to just walk past an apartment, busy street, and you can see someone just chilling on their couch, like watching TV. So over time, I got comfortable like with that openness because I felt really exposed. Honestly, it was like somebody was literally just walk
What's going on
from
here?
the street to my front door, and there's nothing stopping them from doing that. And I'd say it was a very freeing experience, from us just feeling safe, like feeling safe perspective. It was one of the things that took a very long time to get comfortable with, but it was a good experience overall. I got to meet a lot of people who came from different parts of the world, who came for the same program, training to go back to their own countries and work from there. So it was overall a very, very great experience.
Personally, Saba well to live without the stop nonsenses, and
It's something to
not
experience for
be
sure.
scared, not be scared. Like living quick glass house. Imagine, just
It
imagine.
was madness, honestly. When I first, even moving to Canada, same things like no gates, no stop nonsense, no electric fences. You can literally go from the street to the front door. And the front door also can have like parts of it that are glass. And it's normal, it's just a normal part of life.
Yeah, and Ravisa Kobile is laughing with us here. Yeah, no, because we don't have those luxuries here. Just
And I
listen.
know because I live there. I was born in South Africa, so I know
Oh yeah.
exactly how it is.
I for a minute
For
I
a second, you
forgot.
forgot.
Yeah, and you're in the past. Like you're
I
literally living in the
am.
past and we're in the
It's still
future.
like 6:43.
Innovative. Innovative Shandis. Ah, well done,
Yeah.
South Africa. At least you're getting something right. Ah, proud of you. And then we come back to South Africa and then we move to Canada again. Okay, now when we're moving to Canada, what are you doing? Like,
So the move to Canada, it was something my husband had brought up. Is like, hey, we should, because we should consider like, broadening our lives, like moving to another part, of the world just to experience something different. And we also have kids, so we wanted to afford them a lot of experiences and opportunities that we didn't have the opportunity to have when we were younger. And then looking at also a number of different elements and things that were happening around us, we thought it's a good time. We're still young. We can just explore it. Let's explore moving to somewhere else. And we looked at different countries when we were doing our research, like where could we potentially move? And one of the things people are always like, how were you comfortable like moving in this way, is the fact that when we moved, like both of us resigned from the companies we were working for while we were in SA, and we didn't have jobs when we moved to Canada.
oh, wait,
We,
so you
yeah,
moved to Canada without having a job. It was just we're moving. We'll figure
yes,
everything
like
out.
we're moving, and then we start going through the
That was
process of
bold.
getting the papers.
That was bold.
When I look back now, I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
nah,
we
no,
loved
nah.
living on the edge.
Hey, yeah, no, anything could have happened. Hey,
For
like that
sure,
was
for
wild.
sure. So we went through what's called the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Canada has different programs that people can move through, whether it's for studying purposes, where you look for a scholarship, you get that, you move. Some people can find jobs before actually coming to the country, and then maybe the company sponsors you. Oh, what just happened?
No, 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 I'm still
Oh,
here.
you okay? You switched the video off. Okay, I thought maybe it dropped or something. So some people, there's very different programs. Some people get jobs, as I said, and then the companies that they're going to be working for can sponsor them, and they get a work permit, and then they move. We got permanent residence, so we moved as permanent residents of Canada, and then that allows you to come into the country without having a job. But part of that process, you need to be able to show that you would be able to sustain your life, for a certain amount of time. So the government will tell you, hey, I need X amount of money if you're moving as a family of four, for example, to show that you'll be able to pay for your rent, be able to eat, and all of that stuff for a certain period of time, and to give you some time to look for a job. And it honestly didn't take that long for us to look for work and then find it after we moved.
No, you're a family of bold people, Mandisho. Your husband, Spindi, liver. That is a proper Spindi, liver there, because that was wild. That
Jumps
was
sometimes
wild.
are needed in life. Like sometimes you just need to look at something, for sure, do your research and like make take calculated risks, like where you're looking at something, you're like, okay, I've looked at a lot of different aspects. If maybe this doesn't work out in this way, this is what I'm going to try out. But if you never try, you'll never know if it's going to work or not.
Okay. When you told people that you guys are moving to like your close friends and like family, what was the response? Like what was the reaction? Because I'm just trying to think.
I
Like,
mean,
guys, we are
people,
moving. We are quitting our
yeah,
jobs, comfortable jobs in South Africa. We are going to another country. We don't have jobs there, but we are. And it's not just us, because it would have been different if it was just you
I
two. But
know.
you guys had kids, and you're
Yeah,
moving with your kids, and we don't know how things will pan out. Like,
for
how was the
sure.
response from the people around?
Family and friends were very supportive, I must say. Like, family and friends were very supportive, and they were behind us. There were a lot of questions for sure, and people who would suggest, like, hey, why don't maybe one of you leave your job and then move, try get a job, and then the other one is left behind, just to like try balance things out and all of that. So there were very um, differing thoughts that were shared in terms of what we could potentially do to try minimize maybe potential risk. But overall, people were very supportive. For sure, sad, that we're going to be leaving. And for me as well, it was like, I'm going to miss my friends. I'm going to miss my family. And I miss my friends and family. And that's the biggest thing about moving that I'd say is a downside for me, is being so far away from loved ones. But people were very supportive, very, very supportive. And there's a lot of people who expressed a lot of concern afterwards. Like, it's like, okay, things have
Yeah.
worked out. And I didn't want to bombard you with like negative thoughts of things that could happen.
Yes.
But at the time, it was very much like, what if maybe you guys like take too long to get a job? Like, what's going to happen with this? And you're taking the kids and all of that stuff. But it was supportive. Like, they were supportive overall.
Hello.
I can still hear you.
Oh, supportive after all, eh?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's slow this side.
Is
I
it
think
still?
it's
Oh,
because you're in the
okay.
past, eh? So we are trying to, time traveling stuff like that.
Yeah.
Unwabisa again is saying, I think Lula Malu, let's join in and take the leap of faith. What would you say? Yeah, because she wants to take a leap of faith. Now, to people who want to move abroad, what's your advice to them before they actually move?
I would
Like
say
just
do.
practical things they can do.
I would say do research in terms of number one, the industry that you're in. Look at different companies that exist, the jobs that already you can see. Like, if you're looking maybe on platforms like LinkedIn, Indeed, what opportunities are you able to see are available for someone in your position? Because you know what kind of work you would be looking for example. So are you able to see those kinds of positions? Connect with people, connect with people, reach out to people, speak to people about their experiences, how things are going. And then I also encourage people to look for work, like start looking for a job, because it's possible to get a job before you move. There's provincial nomination programs where specific provinces, sorry, specific provinces are going to look for people with a certain skill, because the province doesn't have a lot of people who have that skill, but there's a lot of employers looking for people with those skills. So you could find jobs like that and then try and get a job and then go through the process of moving. If you feel like you'd be more comfortable moving with a job, it's definitely doable. It's not
Yeah.
something we were able to do, because I definitely looked as well for jobs while still in SA, but we did the research, we looked up a lot of things, and we were comfortable enough to say, let's take the leap without jobs, and also having the funds to be able to sustain your life, in terms of, I have a place to live, I'll have, food in my stomach, which are like the basics that you need to just live in a general sense. So I'd say weigh your risks, like save, plan for it, and then take the leap of faith. And honestly, my thinking was, if things really don't work out, South Africa is still home. Like, it's not like I'm leaving because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this place and ever see it and its people or whatever. It's still home.
Yeah.
So if I try
Consider
something
this
out,
a
and if I,
holiday. Yeah,
If
just
I
consider
moved
it a holiday.
for sure, if I moved and I'm like I got a job and everything else is working out from that front, but I really don't like the country, I could have also just come back or go somewhere else, maybe be like, okay, where else can I move and go? Because I don't feel bound to a particular place, like just because maybe I was born there or now I've lived here for 3 years, I can't move. Like there's things that can change like all the time in life. And I think change is the only constant. It's said so many times, but just be open and take the leap, but then just make sure you're like doing your research and due diligence in covering all aspects.
Political parties are probably on some, yeah, she mentioned change, vote for change. It's the only constant thing in life. You mentioned that if you don't like the country, you might go back home. It's a possibility. It's still an option. How are you liking the country?
I love
And
living in Canada. Honestly, I love living in Canada.
um,
One of the biggest things I've is that's a downside is the long winters. I don't mind winter that much, and I think that's probably how I was able to like choose Canada and be like, I'm cool with moving here. It's super cold in winter. The winters are very long. I don't enjoy shoveling
when you say
snow.
cold, when you say, oh, okay, okay, nah, it's
Like
enough.
it can
Thank
get to
you.
-20 where I am. I'm in Ontario, Canada. And that's not the worst. It can get worse than
What did
that.
you say? Negative what?
20, like 20, like double digit negative temperatures in winter. So it gets very cold.
Hectic.
But the thing that I will say, because a lot of people also want to know, like, how do you survive winters like that? So the winter clothing this side is very different to what we have in SA. And when you're outside wearing the proper gear, like you have snow boots that are going to be optimized for like negative 40 degrees. So you have to wear
Oh.
the right type of clothing. So if you'd wear winter boots that we have in SA, you're going to freeze. Because when we first got here, like the winter clothes we had was like, okay, we need to go and buy new
Yeah,
stuff.
no, that's summer. Autumn
For
vibes
sure.
now.
It's like it's fall. Like South Africa's winter is like autumn. Yeah, like what we call fall. So having the right gear, and then when you're inside the house, you can really wear t-shirts, like whatever you want to wear, a short, because a lot of houses have central heating. So you get to set what the temperature inside the house is going to be. So it can be summer all the time. Like I'm at 24 January to December inside the house. And then when you're outside, really you're wearing the correct gear and then you should be good.
No, you're good. You're good. What do you miss about South Africa that's not in Canada?
My friends and
Peep.
family, like it's simple. The people.
The people, ne,
Yeah,
ne. Yeah,
the
no.
people.
Special bunch.
I get a bit of that, South African feel, like, spaces like TikTok, Twitter, like South Africans have a vibe, and it's just a very different kind of feel. So that's what I miss the most, going to like braai places, braai spots, because that's something I really, really enjoy. Braais and all that. But
Chisanyama, Buddha.
yeah, it's people. It's the people more
How
than
how's
anything.
how's 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 the bride that side, by the way? Like, how's the meat that side?
Ish, you
Like
know,
niyazitya intloko izikalikopu, like amanqina,
uh,
ulusu,
I've seen tribes like in
phuthu.
some shops, and there's shops that I've found that also supply South African products. So we're able to buy maize meal. Iwisa, like I have it in the house. Izolo nje, I had pap and wurst for dinner. Yeah, so there's shops that will you can find that will
Wait,
sell
so
South
wait, so
African
wait,
food.
wait, wait. Is maize meal like limited to South African like shops there that side?
For now, yes. Like if you have to find a specific shop. Like I can't go to a
Aibo.
normal grocery store and then find maize meal. It's
How
not
do
a
y'all
staple
live?
food.
Like,
With
how
the
do they
shops,
live?
like with the people
Guys,
that
how do they live? Hey.
I'm forever
How
trying
do
to
they
introduce
live
people
without
to different things
Mr.
because I'm
Pop?
like, I know, right? Like, and for I think 6 or 8 months, like after we moved, we didn't find a place that sold it. And the day that I found it, I was like, wow, this is like it's like heaven.
Hectic.
Because
So,
I love
like,
pub. I love pub. My
people out there
goodness.
live without IPAP.
Yep. It's apparently possible.
Hectic. And tribe, like, Neka, that is wild. No skull corp, no.
Yeah, it's limited for sure. It's very, very limited. Like very limited. But then you, like I said, you'll find the shops that sell things here and there, but it's not the complete picture of, all
But
the
it is
fruits that
something.
side for sure.
It is something. You said TikTok. We met on TikTok, by the way. You're a content creator.
Yes.
Content creator. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is about, like, the word, like the term content creator. I want us to talk about that a bit. Like, is it. I wonder, just because I'm on TikTok, does that make me a content creator? Because people refer to me as a content creator. And I'm just like, hey, guys,
Yeah, I think when
this
you
is
look at
just
when
me
you
and
look
a
at social
camera
media,
and.
when you look at the social media space, the internet and all of that stuff, it's like a lot of the things that you're doing, I think it's like you're living life, but and you're documenting certain things, and that then becomes the content. So
Content.
yeah, so I'm like, that's how I look at it in any case. It's like you're creating something that you're putting somewhere and someone can like watch it. Maybe they learn something from it. Maybe they feel entertained, motivated to do something. So that's that content aspect of it. And then if you're the person who's like you're producing that thing, you took certain things from certain angles, you put it together in a certain way. That's content creation. That's how I look at it.
And YouTubers, like, what's that? Is that still content creation? Like, is there? I feel like there's a thin line between that and being a creative.
I
Like, do
see
you
what you mean.
regard
Yeah,
yourself? Do you regard yourself as, a
a
creative?
creative. I'd say yes, in the
Okay.
sense that, and that's not necessarily looking at spaces like, well, actually, no, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to say yes. Because when I look at a lot of things when it comes to my YouTube channel, I've created a lot of things myself, not to say I'm like super perfect or good at doing a lot of things, but there's a lot of creative things that go into creating something like a YouTube channel or even TikToks. Like some reels need some form of creativity in
Yep.
terms of
Facts.
doing things. So
Facts.
it depends what you're doing. And then when you look at making things like maybe your channel art, like the banners, the thumbnails, things like that, like that
Editing.
is, yeah, the editing side of things. I think that is like more creative in nature. And then the content creation side of things can also be looked at as, you don't have to be someone who's a creative to start a YouTube channel. Because if you don't know how to do certain things, you can get somebody else who knows how to do that. And then you're creating the content, and then there's someone who's more on the creative side who's
Yeah.
focusing on that. There's another painting I sit behind sometimes on my TikTok or videos that I'll put on social media. And that one I made myself. So at things like that,
Is
I'm
it
like,
like, wait, the blue? Is it blue?
it's like
Paint.
there's some blue on it and
Okay.
like
Yeah.
orangish and white. Like that one I created myself. So I'm
Wild.
like, that's the side that
Wild.
makes me say yes, creative. I'm a content creator and a
A
creative as well.
creative.
Yeah.
Also, do you think that creativity involves putting your heart and soul into your work, or is it more like letting your mind flow freely to just witness the surprising results of your actions?
I'd say it's a mix of both. I think it's like a mix of both, and it's very subjective as well. And I don't know, like I'm not someone who would say, oh, you're not a creative because you have, if someone considers themselves
Yeah.
creative based on whatever they think they creative on, I think it's very subjective and it's a mix of both, like in a lot of spaces.
Oh, and like, okay, I want to say, like, your TikTok is very authentic. Your content is authentic because obviously it is your experiences, right? So we just have a Busi G feel. But is that something that you strive for intentionally? Like, do you strive to be unique in your creative endeavors?
I I'm really happy to hear that that's what you get from my content, because I honestly try and be authentic, and then like saying trying to be kind of sounds like, you're trying to do something, but I just want to show up as myself. Like if you're bumping into me somewhere, you have a conversation with me, I wouldn't want someone to see a very different person online and then they meet me and they're like,
Mm,
this is not quite the Busi that I've been seeing. Something
online.
that, yeah, something that I think some people might be like, this is not true or whatever, because of how open I am online. Like I'm on social media, I create YouTube videos, I'm on TikTok, but I'm an introvert. Like there's people who will be like, no, like you can't. It's like I'm not likely gonna start a conversation like with if I meet someone like randomly.
Like,
I know
ayo.
my mom. My mom is like out there. She's very social. She's that person who will go to a place, meet people. She's making like a bunch of friends like on the first date. I'm the total opposite. I'm like more reserved. I take time to get used to people in a space, and that's something I think people are sometimes like, I didn't think you were an introvert. So that's one thing that I'd say is a bit not super over. I don't think it's obvious, and some people are like surprised by it, but I'm just myself. Like all of that, like I'm saying all of that to say I show up just as myself. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, I don't have makeup on right now, so I can't take a video, or I don't have
Yeah.
this. It's
Oh
like, dude, if you
man.
look at me and you're like, you should have
You
put
really
makeup on, I'm like, you
you
have to
really
deal
are
with
the
it
cool
yourself.
aunt, hey? You really are the cool aunt, because I'm just like, ayo.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna. If we have to wait for Busi to beat her face before she shows up, you'll be waiting your whole life. Like you're not gonna. You'll see me maybe once a year or something. Like because I'm not wearing makeup on a daily basis. I enjoy doing certain things, and I like those experiences when I do like put makeup and all of that. But it's just not something I personally do on a daily basis. But I still show up, like, and I show up as myself to share something. If someone is asking me something and then I'm like, oh, I can share information with you about this. And then if it helps you, then that's awesome.
Also, I have a really cute like picture wearing makeup for the first time like 4 months ago.
Nice.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to
Yeah,
you. 'Cause, like
please
I
do.
look snatched, and I was just like, I understand. I understand why ladies are all up in their
Mm-hmm.
fills with makeup because hey man,
Yep.
like
It's
it's a
nice.
different. It's nice. It's okay. It's okay. But how do you manage to stay both personal and original in your creative endeavors? Yeah, I'm talking to you as a creative now because you've said it. Yes, I'm a creative. So,
Personal and creative. Like, can you delve into what you mean, like more?
like how you say, you said that when you bump into me,
Mm-hmm.
when you bump into me, you bump into the same Musi
Mm-hmm.
that you bump into on TikTok, or you don't separate them at once. You don't have that thing. But okay, this is Musi, the creative, and then this is Musi, the
Like the
person.
person. I
Yeah,
don't think
well,
I do. Like, cause
and are you like with the content that you put out there? Like,
Mhm.
are you intentional about the stuff that you don't share and like that you share, or is it just okay if it's on my mind then let me share, or is it like
I don't share everything that's on my mind because I think of a
yeah,
lot of stuff, like for sure. But I'm not, there's no persona that, like, separate persona that I've created for the online space. So it's me, it's,
yeah,
sharing. And,
yeah.
and for sure, there's things, when you see someone on the internet, there's like probably 90% going on in their lives that you don't know about. So many things can be happening in somebody's lives, and there's so many things they potentially could be talking about and sharing, but you won't always know that there's a number of other things, because I think we're all multifaceted human beings. We have different sides of us, and different people are going to experience different sides of us. But I don't necessarily like separate to say, okay, let me like get into action. This is now the Busi G that's on social media, and then okay, now I'm back to being myself. Like I'm not an actress at this point. Like unless I'd be acting in something, like then I feel like I'd have those shifts in terms of this is my online persona and then this is my personal life, like, or whatever. I'm the same person. Like, and I don't have different personas for sure. I can't hear you. I can see your lips moving.
Oh, sorry.
No
I was
worries.
actually saying something. I switched off this by mistake. 2000s ish. Busy.
No
We're busy
worries.
here. You sound like you read a lot. Like I don't know how to explain it, but you can,
I
like, you
do.
can, yeah, you can tell when a person reads. There's something about them when you're just like, Lona,
Yeah.
they
I'd say
read a
like
lot.
I love reading for sure. Like I have a lot of books, but as of late, like work has been very busy, so I haven't delved into a lot of like books and reading. I've purchased a lot of books for sure. The last book I read, and there's a book club like that I joined in my workplace, which has been great. Like in just helping to get me back into the swing of things. But I definitely do read. I haven't been doing much of it as of late, but reading, I think, is the nicest way to like travel, like in your mind, go to different places depending on the type of book that you're reading, learn something. I personally also enjoy self-help type of books because I think they just teach me certain things and certain ways I could be approaching maybe life or doing particular things. So it's books that I personally enjoy. And there was a time where there was this thing like on the socials, like, oh, personal help and blah blah, like those books, like,
Yeah.
and I started being like, maybe I should, stop reading personal help books and start delving into other things. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I actually enjoy these types of books, and I'm not going to stop reading them just because there's people who are like, oh, I want to read something different because help, I've heard it all or whatever. There's always something to learn, I think.
Yeah. I asked that because, like, on Facebook yesterday, I saw saw a post where someone said, "Hey, people who read are very pretentious." Like, guys, imagine sitting down, just staring through a book and just flipping the page. Like, it's very pretentious. Like, do you guys
But you're
actually
not
enjoy?
pretending, you're
Like, you
reading.
guys, like, you actually enjoy
That's
reading.
what that's what my husband has asked me sometimes. It's like like, and he's like he does not get it. You can literally just take a book. No one is forcing you to read this book. You're not in school. You're not gonna write a test on it. Why are you just taking? Because I remember very early, like in our relationship, I used to buy him, like, I'll buy him a book every now and
Book.
then. Yeah, like I'll buy him a book, and I'm like, hey, did you finish the book? And it's like, I started it, but hey,
Yeah.
and you just learn, like, it's okay, like we have different preferences, we have different things that we do as a downtime activity. Like for me, reading is a downtime, like relaxing activity. It's a book I'm picking out. It's not someone who's forcing me to read it. I don't have to go be quizzed on the thing. I get to learn about whatever I'm trying to learn about from the book. So I enjoy it, and I think it's just one of those things. We're not all gonna enjoy the same things. There's a lot of things other people will do that they consider fun, and I'm just like,
Yeah, no.
mm-mm,
But still,
like.
people who read are very pretentious. Let's just put it out there. This is a self drag, by the way. But yeah, still, people who read, like, why? Like, why do you,
Why?
like, on a normal day, and you guys obsess over books, self drag again, out here checking out book sales and stuff. Like, imagine why? No.
We pick our poison. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've picked our
pick.
poisons.
Very important, that thing of picking your poison. By the way, have you ever been poisoned? Just curious now.
Not that
Ever?
I know of.
You don't know?
Not that
Oh,
I'm aware. I want to say
you've never
no, but
drank poison or?
myself, no, no. Mm-mm. Hey, I want to live. I want to be here. I want to be healthy.
You want to live? Hey,
Yeah.
desperate for life. There's a meme someone shared. Someone's like, "Hey, yo, guys, when you get sick, you go to the hospital. It's as though you're desperate for living. Like, why? Why would you do that?" And I'm just like, guys,
Maybe we are. Who knows? I don't know exactly what we're trying to fight for to live, but like, yeah, I don't know. We want to see these trees, like, the birds chirping outside. I don't know. The small things are the
up.
nicest.
Speaking of which, how's the weather that side? Like, I always see when people talk to someone who's living somewhere other than where they are, yeah, well, where you're living internationally, they always ask why. Like, how's the weather? And I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Like, but I'm actually curious now. How's the
It's
weather there?
hot. Yo.
What?
It's summer right now. I don't know what the high is going to be today. I didn't check
It's
when I
what?
woke up.
Guys, it's summer.
Yes, we're in summer. Like, yo, guys, I
Nah,
heard
you
I heard
guys are
SA is
really
so
in
cold.
you guys are really in the past. It's so cold here, and the only reason I'm wearing a short sleeve t-shirt is because the heater is on. Yeah. But
Yeah.
the minute I
Step
I
outside.
step out, it's chai bomba, Pono necks and all of that. It's
Yeah, no,
hectic.
it's hot here. Like it was around 30, and the thing with Ontario is it's very humid because there's a lot of water like around us. And that's the kind of heat that I don't quite enjoy. Like I
Sure.
like the Joburg type of heat where it's hot, it's dry. Like that's what I'm used to and that's what I like. This one I'm like, yeah, it's very humid and it just gets very ick for me very quickly. But it's very hot right now and I'm happy. I'm not complaining. Not by any means. I'm not complaining.
Also, I didn't ask you how you were doing. Like I didn't ask Bana how are you, and not just like in the general reflex I'm okay manner, but like how are you, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Yeah. By the way, this is just a conversation.
Yeah,
Not
for
necessarily
sure.
an interview. It's just
I'm I'm good. I'm honestly good. Like there's times where I'm like exhausted, like because there's so many going on. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I shared about it on TikTok. We recently purchased our first home here in Canada. So we've been in
Ti 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 ti
yeah.
ti ti. Ti 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 ti.
Thank you.
We've got you covered.
Thank
That's
you.
dope. That's
So
dope.
so there's been a lot going on in terms of like moving, unpacking, like doing all the things. So I've been exhausted because work is still carrying on, life is still carrying on. I have to wake up like in the morning, get the kids ready, we're taking them to school, fetching them from school, making school lunches. Like there's a lot going on, so it's exhausting for sure. Like, and I can't wait to get to a point where I'm like, ah, we're settled in, I don't have to think about unpacking anything or getting anything for, something in the house. Thank you, Navisa. But there's a lot going on for sure. It's like there is a lot going on. But I think and it's not so much, saying you balance things in life. I have just come to accept that at some point you're going to tip the scales. Like there's things that you're going to have to focus on a lot more at different times in life, and that is perfectly okay. And as long as you're also prioritizing things like resting. But there I have to like kind of take my own advice a bit because I think I can push myself a lot of times more than I need to. Um, but I'm good. Like I'm honestly in a good space, in a good space, like with the tiredness. And this is it, the move and the new house is honestly one thing that's made me miss having my family and friends around because it was always easier. Like moving in SA was like, my
It's like,
brothers
hey,
are
yo,
here.
pull,
My
yeah,
Yeah,
pull
it's like
through.
so many people like can come, they helping you and you
Yeah.
unpack like so quickly, you're done. But here I'm just like, hey, it's just us, it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a minute.
Yeah. Also ask that because I love talking about mental health on the show. Just having conversations about it. It is a huge show. So how do you take care of your mental health? And how important
Yeah. And
is being aware of it?
I'm a mental health advocate myself. Like I remember when I lived in South Africa, I used to volunteer at SADAG, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, and every week I'd spend around like 3 hours or a bit more working at their call center. I got trained as a lay counselor, so mental health for me is a very, very big and important topic, and I think it's something that should be taken into consideration and thought of as an important aspect of our lives just as any other health. But I think because it's something that you can't see it. Like if someone has something going on then and that's mental health related, it's not something that you can always physically see, and it's always, I think, very difficult for people to talk about certain things. So one of the things that I do for my mental health is open up, like speak, finding someone that you feel very comfortable talking to. If you don't have someone in your personal space or life, you could be reaching out to call centers like SADAG. You could maybe seek out a therapist that you can speak to. But there's
Yeah.
different avenues, and I think not bottling things up really helps. And it's also a way to find resources that could potentially help you. Because every time you speak to someone about something, they can bring up something that you maybe know of or you've never heard of, and even something that you know about your own self that helps you in certain instances. So what I like to say is, create like a bit of a toolbox for yourself. So you're like, okay, today
Yeah.
I'm feeling down. And sometimes taking care of yourself is the most superficial things, not like, hey, I'm going to therapy, I'm doing this. It could be,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
putting running a bath for myself. I'm going to soak in a bath for an hour, just unwind, relax, not stress about things that are going on. And there's a lot of things, and it could be reading. That thing that the pretentious people do.
Yeah, no,
You
read people,
you could
read.
read something like, so there's a lot of things that you can do to like shift your mind a bit and do different things. There's exercising, another thing I haven't done in a while, but I know is good for you and it helps, like me for sure. If I feel like I'm in a very down state, exercising
Wait.
really helps get my
Yeah, no.
endorphins going, and it's very good. So there's a lot of things, and another thing I'd like to highlight is how when I moved to Canada, I figured and found out that they have an minister. There's an associate minister for mental health and addictions. That was something I was like, whoa. They literally, like, it's not just
Hey.
a minister of health
Yeah.
and then it's at that general level. There
It's
is literally
specific,
someone,
yes.
yes. And for me, I was like, this is something that is so amazing. And I really wish a lot of other countries could focus on mental health in this way. And I got the opportunity to speak to the Associate Minister of Mental Health and
Ooh.
Addictions here in Canada. I had a conversation with him. It's on my podcast and it's on my YouTube channel as well. And we just speak through how the government here in Ontario are helping Canadians and people who live in Canada to be as healthy as possible when it comes to their mental
Well,
health.
that is so dope.
And there's so many programs in place and things that they're doing that I think a lot of governments around the world can learn from, that these are the things we can do. And I mean, as people in society, we will always feel like, oh, but there could be more that can be done. Because I speak to a lot of people who feel like the government is not doing a lot. And from my perspective, coming from a country like South Africa, where I know how sparse like resources are, especially from a public aspect, where the government is like providing resources to people, it's very limited in a lot of areas. I just look at it and I'm like, sometimes we can have a lot of access to things and we don't realize that there's a lot of things we're privileged by having, because it's something that's just very normal for us. So it's normal, I guess, for people who have lived here to have that person that is like more focused on mental health and addictions. But that's also like another thing worth bringing up there. They didn't always have a mental health and addictions minister. It's something that was a focus. I think it's like 2018 or something. Like, it's not a very, so it
Yeah.
wasn't very long ago
It's
where they
new.
were like, yeah. But it's something that a lot of countries can definitely be thinking about and focus on. So you have someone who's driving programs for people, because there's a
Yeah.
need out there. There's a lot of people, all of us, mental health is
Yeah.
part of our general health. It's just that it's not something that's very easy to look at and see.
That is so wholesome. Yo, imagine a Jabu. Okay, why is Jabu always the go-to name, by the way? Because a Jabu Hlong something for as minister of that would be dope, really dope.
A
Have you
focus.
had? Yeah, that would be super dope. That would be super dope. I mean, even therapy is a
It's not
privilege, like a
accessible,
luxury
yeah.
here
It's
in South
definitely not
Africa.
accessible to everyone. And when I look at budget spends, like if you look at the percentages and numbers from a health perspective in SA, and you look at the portion of that budget that's allocated to mental health related stuff,
Yep.
it's so low. Like in some provinces, you look at some areas, you're like, it's non-existent essentially. Like, what is supposed to happen with like maybe 3% or 5% of the budget being directed towards mental health? So we have a lot to do, I think, as a community, a global community, honestly, because I think it's definitely something that affects all of us and it's across the board. Like it's not just specific people in specific areas, but it's a very important topic and one that's super close to my heart as well.
And you know what, suffering from a mental illness in South Africa is like, oh, so you're saying you have a mental illness, then why are you not in the streets,
Uhlanye.
going, yeah, ungapambana, why aren't you going through bins and stuff like that? How are you sane? How are you able to still go to work? How are you able to,
Yeah.
live a decent life, I guess?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that whole aspect of more education being required around what exactly does it mean, like when you're talking about mental health. And I think of my time when I was still in school. I do not remember, like in life orientation or any subject, like anyone talking about mental health, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is something that's impacting me even when I'm a child. Like your mental health is very important even as a kid, but no one ever touches on it. The only thing you know how to recognize is when you're physically like ill. And you're like, oh, okay, if I'm not feeling well in these ways, then I need to go see a doctor. But in other ways, like if you're like you're feeling down for 2 weeks plus, there's people who think that is like, oh, this is super normal. Like I've been like this my entire life. But it's actually like you should go and seek out a professional, like and speak to someone and try find help because like it's normal to feel sad, right? Don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah.
there's times where you can feel down and sad because there's something that happened or whatever. But having that happen and is a constant in your life for a super
Yeah.
long time, that's something worth standing up for and going to see a doctor. But if you had a cough or your arm was hurt or something physical happened, it's very easy for people to know that, oh, I need to seek professional help for this. So there's a lot of education that also still needs to happen so people understand that, okay, if I'm talking about a mental health illness, it doesn't always mean it's something that I'm going to see and the person is going to be doing things
Yes.
in a certain way. It's very hidden and, invisible a lot of the times.
Yeah, you spoke about education. Like, how much emphasis do you place on education, and how important is education to your creative process?
I think it's very important. There's so many things, and this is not me only thinking or speaking about education in the formal going to school, going to university sense, because we live in the internet age. Information is literally available at our fingertips. It's literally available at our fingertips. If you have a topic or a subject or something you think, oh, I'm interested in this, but I don't know much about it, it's so easy to go on the internet, look up information, start reading up about something, start working on projects like hands on. I work in the IT space and I look at how there's a lot of jobs that have opened up that don't really require people anymore to have gone and done an actual like degree for 3 or 4 years at a university. You do a certification, you learn a skill, you start making things like you build projects, maybe you're building websites, like you're developing things, applications that you can actually show and say, I have this skill, this is what I can do, and you can get hired by very big companies. So education and upskilling yourself is very, very important. Whether you're upskilling yourself with something that's like a tangible, skill that you can do, like building an app or being able to fix a chair, and things like taking care of yourself, where it's like, okay, I don't know how to recognize when my mental health needs some attention. So how can I start knowing that, okay, I am not okay if I maybe am feeling this way or whatever, this is what it could potentially mean. So it's very important, I think, to educate yourself, and there's so many ways to do it. It shouldn't be confined to just going to school and university and those formal ways of doing things.
Yeah, I'm sure my fellow young people are on some. Yep. Yeah, she's cool because hey, this side formal education, we're just like, nah, man. As soon as you're done with high school, you're just like grand formal education. So I will feel affirmed right now. We're just like, yeah.
There's a lot
is
of
cool.
avenues, a lot of ways for people to upskill themselves. Because I think if we only want to look at the formal education, like and I'm not saying it's not important for sure. If you have the opportunity to do it, I say go for it. Definitely go for it. But if the opportunity is not presenting itself, don't close yourself off to other things that you could potentially do and learn, and then try and find other opportunities through those different avenues. And also, we're not all gonna, I think, go to university. We're not all geared for that, heads down academics. That's what we're doing. And the more I think we embrace that as people and realize that there's people who really maybe have talents and skills and interests and things that are like maybe more of a trade skill where they go into a program and they're working like actual hands-on working and learning how to do something with their hands instead of like working a knowledge type of job, being a knowledge worker where you're behind a laptop the whole day and that's what you do. There's so many different things that we could be doing.
Speaking of which, you're a customer success manager. As different, like it's one of the things that I didn't know existed. Mnandi Azba, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant,
Yeah.
which is another one that my mom likes. A teacher, yeah, those are the
How
things
did
that
I
I
get
know.
to?
Yeah, no. So how did you get to that? Like, and what do you do?
Yeah, okay. So let me start at where I started off, like in my career. So when I started working, I was a systems engineer, which was like pre-sales. Working at a tech company, you're selling technology solutions and providing technical input to customers, so they understand that this is how this thing is going to work in my environment, and this is how it's going to help me solve this and that challenge in my business. And then going through that whole process of working as a pre-sales technical person, I started realizing that there's so many of our customers that like purchase this solution and then there's a lot of features that they have that they're not aware of, that they're not using. And they'll come to us and say, hey, I'd like to introduce this type of a thing in our organization. And I was wondering if you guys maybe offer something in this space. And then you look at what this person or this company already has, and they have that feature already as part of the things that they have purchased, but they just don't know. And that's when I started asking, okay, how do we make sure that, our customers actually are using all the things that they've purchased? Because it's if a customer buys something from you and they don't know that your product actually does or has this type
This
of a
and
feature,
this, yeah.
it's easy for them to go to someone else and purchase that thing. And then you end up losing your customer over time because they're not seeing as much value from you as they could be. And then that's where the concept of like customer success was introduced. And the customer success manager role in the IT space, it's not a very old role. And I mean, IT in general, like, is a very, I'd say very newish space. Like when you think of Microsoft, like in the 90s, like it's not that long ago where the internet like started being a thing, right? So there's a lot of new roles that are constantly springing up, and customer success managers are is one of those roles. So what I do in my role, I focus on that post-sales cycle in relationships, customer relationships. So a customer has purchased a solution from a technology company, and I make sure that they are onboarded, they understand what resources are available to them, they understand the features that are available to them, and the business outcomes that our solution can help them drive. And then I make sure that they adopt and they're actually using our product. Because a lot of the products and companies actually that I've worked for are moving to a more subscription based model. So when you think about things like Netflix, for example, you get Netflix, maybe you pay, for every single month. If they're not making sure that you're actually using your Netflix subscription, it's going to be easy for them to use you as a customer. And I'm using something that's like, I think, very, high level that people can understand in a very simple fashion. But when you start looking at organizations that are going to go purchase a solution that's like costing them $1 million maybe a year or more, it's very important to make sure that those people are making the most of that solution. They're seeing the value out of it. And then I think over time, companies just realize we need someone someone who's going to be in this particular role to make sure that we get customers understand how to use us, they're adopting, they're seeing value, their businesses are growing, and that's how we get to keep them as a customer and grow our business. So in a nutshell, that's what I currently do as a customer
In a
success
what?
manager.
In a what? In a nutshell. Oh, okay.
A very big
That was a
nutshell.
lot. Hey, that was a lot. Also, before I forget, you said Netflix. What are you watching on Netflix? Love Netflix recommendations, or like,
I
I'm new to Netflix. Sana
yeah.
account. What can I watch? Like something.
Bruh, like
Just three recommendations.
I don't have any. Maybe if you haven't watched Selling Sunsets, I think that's the last thing I watched. Like I know it's been our
Selling.
season, Selling Sunsets. Their season two
Never
has
heard of
been
it.
out. Check out Selling Sunsets.
Oh,
That
also,
one where they're
ish. Our
selling.
Netflix, that's another thing. Our Netflix, not the same. You know, one needs a
Really?
VPN. Yeah, one
Okay,
needs a
okay, okay,
VPN to
okay.
watch what you guys are watching in Canada because it's limited.
Uh,
Yeah, the things that you can't
you
watch
can
that
see,
we own.
yeah.
Yes, so that's
Try
problematic.
try
But
search and see if you can't find it. But that's the last thing I watch. But I haven't been watching a lot of TV, honestly, as of late. But that Selling Sunsets is definitely the last thing I watched on Netflix and enjoyed.
hectic. Also, my producer's literally just here. Is reminding me time we took up space. It was supposed to be like 40 minutes, but like yeah, now it's an hour. So yeah, we have to
Wrap it up. Yeah.
wrap up. He's probably thinking, these 2,000 kids, it was pay to win. That's okay. It's chilled, like on time. Last words. You're talking to young people now as Andy G, like I'm at 2000. South Africans, young South Africans who probably want to live abroad, who have dreams of living outside of South Africa, could be for just traveling and for holidays and stuff. But for those who would like to live outside of South Africa, what would you say? It's
I
possible.
would
Like, first
say
of all, it's possible.
for
Ne.
sure. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely possible. And I would say, like, when you are young, I think it's so much easier to try out things. Like, move to a different place, try it out. If you don't like that particular place, move to another place. And I already had my kids, both of them. Like when I moved to Canada, like specifically, I already had both of my kids, and I can tell you it's a lot more challenging. It's doable still, like even if you'd have kids already, it's doable, but it's a lot more challenging, like to manage moving with like kids. There's a lot of things to think about, and I think when you're young, that's the when you still have the opportunity to explore and move a lot and be more flexible, essentially. So I would say if you do have those aspirations of moving outside of Canada, look up things, look up scholarships. There's a lot of YouTubers that share about their experiences. And I have people who ask me about scholarships, and it's not something I can really speak on because I don't have experience on it. But I
Yeah.
do know that if you go on the internet and you search, there's a lot of programs that you can find. But if you feel like, because the internet can also be like a bit of a maze where you're like, I don't know if this is a legit site or not. I would highly recommend checking out different YouTubers from different parts of the world who have moved to Canada as people who are coming here maybe to study. So maybe you come study in a country or you go study in another country. It doesn't have to be Canada. But when you're young, honestly, I think that's the time when you should be going for it the most because it's the easiest time, I think, where you have less responsibilities and things to be thinking about, less moving parts. So it's definitely a time to do it. So just take the leap of faith, like believe in yourself, give it a go,
Believe in
and
yourself. Believe in
know that
yourself.
if you do something and it doesn't work out, it's literally not the end of the world. Like you can pivot, you can do something else, you can try something else. But just give yourself that chance, that opportunity. That's where you have to start. You giving yourself that opportunity.
Believe in yourself. Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. Like it's my favorite thing ever. My favorite saying ever. Like believe in yourself. Now telling
for
me to
sure.
believe in me. Thank you so much, man, for coming through. Really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having
Like I
me.
said, W worthy, cool, and Busi. Yeah, because
I
that's
should
your
start calling
handle
myself
now.
cool Aunt Busi. I'm like, now I believe
That's
it. My
that's
nieces
that's
have told me
that's
that now I believe it.
yeah, no, that's the handle now. We're going with it. Where can people catch you on the socials?
So on every platform that I'm on, I'm Busi G. My handle is at Busi underscore global. So BUSI underscore GLOBAL. That's
Twitter?
me.
Twitter? No Twitter?
Yep, I do have Twitter. So it's Twitter, TikTok. I don't think there's a platform I'm not on, honestly. I
Oh,
might not
okay.
be using it as much, but whatever social platform you're on, you're likely going to find me. Facebook, Twitter, and it's Busi G or, at Busi underscore global.
And your podcast?
Self care with Busi. Self care with Busi, yeah.
I bet. YouTube?
Busi G. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And that was BCG. We're out of here.
Let's see what
Boom, boom.